What's up, guys? It is Jason from the Springfield D&D community Facebook page, and this is our second episode of Behind the Screen. And today we have somebody you've probably seen in the group a ton. Her name is Sara Osten. You finally get to put a face to the name. So say hey to everybody, Sara.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy to be here and have a chance to tell you a little bit about myself.
Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of questions for Sara, and I'm sure a lot of you would like to know more. The whole point of why we do this is so that you can put a face to the name. You guys can get to know the people in the community. Sara has been involved in the community basically from the beginning. She comes to most of our events and she interacts very heavily on the page. And she's just the shining example of what it is to be a community member. So we really appreciate her taking the time to do this. So let's get into it. So, Sara, tell us who you are outside of Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, outside of D&D, I don't do a whole lot, to be honest. I am kind of hyper fixated on it. I do, I have my dogs that I play with a lot. They bring me so much joy. I hang out with my mom. She's one of my best friends. I like to read a lot. I garden. I love a good thrift store. Going to the movies, normal stuff, nothing too exciting, I don't think.
Love it. And I know you read a ton. I've been getting back into reading some more lately. And what is the book that you're currently reading or the series that you're currently reading?
So right now I'm reading I think it's called Trilogy of the Seven Rings by Nora Roberts. And it's a ghost story, more or less. I'm in the second book and it's phenomenal.
Do
It's
you
so
ever
good.
do you ever steal stuff from the books you read and put it into your games?
Oh, yes, all the
Oh yeah.
time. I think, anything in our day-to-day lives, if it's inspiration, it's going in a game somewhere, whether it's as the DM or as a player. I will use it if I think it's good.
Oh yeah. I actually I rip so much from the things that I watch and read and try to shoehorn it into D&D somewhere. Um, and I'm looking forward to some of the things that I've read recently to surprise people with because I don't think they read these books because they're fantasy books from like a few decades ago. But okay,
Sure.
cool. So outside of D&D, staying pretty busy, but how did you first get into the game? How did you discover D&D?
Well, I've known about D&D since I was very little. I remember the Satanic Panic of the 1980s.
Mm,
Um, I was in a private Christian school in California, and I remember long lectures about the evils of D&D and how it opened your soul to demonic possession and all that stuff. And I never really paid a whole lot of attention to it. And then a few years later, I had some cousins who were 10 or 12 years older than me, and I knew they played it, but I wasn't really interested.
mhm.
Um, about 20 years ago, a very good friend of mine tried to teach me how to play, and he didn't give me any kind of mechanics, anything really about the game. It was just tell me who your character is.
Right.
It was literally just those few words. And I got so frustrated and was like, nope, not doing this. I'm done. And then about 4 years ago, a good friend of mine played with her boyfriend and they invited me into their game. And it was instantaneous obsession. They introduced me to the game. They introduced me to the wonderful world of Critical Role.
Right. Yeah.
And I've been hyper fixated ever since.
That I mean, I don't know if you've heard kind of how I got into it's so similar. Mine was a few years ago too, not that long.
Yeah.
And I I of course didn't see the satanic panic portion and you touched on what that was a little bit, but I didn't want to play this game for the longest time. I thought the game was like so dorky and so nerdy and I was like I don't want to go anywhere near that. I played card games like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and stuff like that growing up, but like RPGs never, and I never had anybody close to me do it. And then I had a friend come over and just surprised me with it. Like, we're making characters today. And then I was like, I guess I'm playing this game now. And after I saw what it really was, not what I thought it was, but what it really was, I was like,
Right.
oh. And then I played a couple more times and I was like, I want to run a game. You know? Like, I want to
Yeah.
run a game so bad. So did you have that similar kind of experience? You played a few times and you're just like, I want to get behind the screen, or did that take a while?
No, honestly, I think with that particular friend, I played twice and then the friendship dissolved. And I was like, I need to play more. And I didn't really know how to go about finding anybody else that knew how to play or wanted to learn how to play. But I stumbled into a close friend of mine from high school and told him that I had played and was, looking to play. And he said, Sarah, I played all the time in high school and I love it. Let's play. He said, but I don't know how to DM. And I said, well, I don't either, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And once I got behind the screen, I hardly ever want to come out from behind it.
Right. Yeah. And I feel that is true for so many people who want to run a game, but they are too scared or nervous, or there's a million reasons why you don't want to get behind the screen. But for everybody that I know of that loves playing and they got behind the screen and ran a game, it opened up their whole world. That's when it really grips you, I feel, because
Yeah.
you start thinking about, oh, adventure design, encounter design, world building, all of these
Hmm.
things. And I mean, that's infinite. You can come up with
Oh, yeah.
infinite ideas, and that's the beauty and kind of the curse of running a game, is that, you have infinite storylines and plots and puzzles and characters that you can make, and you only have so much time. But for people who
Yeah.
maybe are a little bit more reserved or scared to jump into a game, you know, speaking to that person, how would you encourage them to do so?
Honestly, I'd probably start by telling them, my own story. I literally played the game for maybe a total of 4 hours before I was kind of thrust behind the screen. And we learn so much. It's like on the job training. And I think the easiest way to learn how to run a game is to just get behind the screen and do it.
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
you don't have a whole lot of background within Dungeons and Dragons or any other, TTRPG, just get up and do it. It's one of my players has recently started running his own games for us. And he said, I have never known a thrill or excitement or even high like I
Yeah.
got from sitting at the end of the table behind the screen and running the game.
It's so true.
It,
My buddy Dalton, he described it in a way. He called it the flow state. And I think this is a common phrase. I didn't know it until he said it. And he's like, but whenever you start running a game, at least for me, it starts with a lot of nerves and anxiety. And then
Mhm.
once I get a few minutes in, it's just like reading a book that you love or watching a show that you love. You forget that you're reading, and you forget
Right.
that you're watching a movie, and you're just in it, right? And you're
Yeah,
in it for hours. You'll come up for breath. You're like, whoa, where did the last hour go? Right. And you
exactly.
get into the flow state of running the game, and you're in it. You're all these characters, the people at the table are in it, and you're just having this weird, like, really just from outside perspective looking in, just a weird thing where you're all just enraptured in this story that's just playing in your brains. And as the DM, you get to be the
Yeah,
person that creates that space. And it's awesome. It's like a drug.
it is. It really is. I was just thinking that when we were kids and we used to play make believe games, we were in it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
were, you were that dragon or that prince or the bad guy or cowboys and Indians or whatever game, your mind came up with. And you could lose the whole day playing. And I think that's one of the great things about D&D or any of the tabletop role playing games is that we get to go back to that part of our childhood and embrace it, or for a lot of people experience that for the very first time.
Yeah. And people of any age can enjoy the game, like kids, running for kids, they experience the game in a whole different way. And then you run for people who say are like in their 30s who'd have seen this stuff growing up and, maybe didn't get involved. And then even people 50s, 60s plus, we have that whole range of people in the group. Whenever they come and play and they get caught up in the moment of it, it's magical. It's such like a
It
unique
is.
experience. You play a board game and you get caught up in like the tactics of it for sure, right?
Yeah,
But you don't necessarily get wrapped up in the story that the game is particularly trying to tell. And I think
right.
that's really what happens in role playing games is that there's tactics for sure, but there's this whole story aspect, your character, the quest
Yeah.
that you're on, the plot that you just get swept up in. And there's really nothing else like it to
No,
me.
there isn't.
No.
There
All
isn't.
right.
I
So
want
for
people to experience that.
same, let's talk about that because that's a
Yeah.
big motivation of the group. And I would love for you to talk about your experience being in the group because setting it up, what I want the group to really be is a place where people can come and they can talk about D&D. If you look at our feed, there's great conversations. You pose great questions every single week.
Mhm.
There's great conversations to be had to give you some great ideas. And then you have this huge
Mhm.
community of people behind you. If you ever have a question, boom, you're going to get 3 to 30 answers in a couple of
Right.
days on your question, which is pretty cool. And in the Springfield area, outside of the game stores, there's really not a lot of spaces that focus on just this game. And so, wanted this place to
Right.
be a place to have conversations, but also to provide you an opportunity to meet people to start a group with, whether it's meeting them at a learn to play event or a one shot
Mhm.
or a paint night or whatever it is. The conversations are great. The goal is that you come, you participate, and you meet great people in the group and start your own. So, can you tell us about how you have come and done all of those things in the group?
Yeah, so I don't even remember how I found the group. I think it just, popped up as a suggestion on Facebook one night, and I joined it, and within I think it was maybe a week or 2, um, someone had said they were, looking for a group, and, it was Christy,
Mhm.
and she kinda took the reins and got a bunch of other people that had responded that they too were looking for a group. She arranged our schedules. There happened to be 2 of us, that were willing and really wanted, to DM,
Mhm. Of
and, it was myself and Clark,
course.
and we all met together at, Chris's, apartment. They have like just like a general meeting area, so it
Right.
was pretty public. And I think there was 8 of us, that met that night, and it
Oh,
was I don't know if you would call it kismet or instant love or whatever, but we all just clicked like, gears in a
yeah.
groove.
Yeah.
And we started playing every other week. I would run a game, and the off weeks, Clark would run his game. And within the first couple of sessions, once we started actually playing the game, it was like, this is my family. This is my tribe of nerdy weirdos. And I started coming, I got over the anxiety of coming to one of the events.
Right.
And I've met more great people
Right.
and found another game to play in with Jen and Brian. And that's what I want for everybody. I want anybody who wants it to have that feeling, that just that amazing feeling of your chosen group of weirdos, your nerds. And we're all friends even beyond the game itself. We're
Of course.
involved now with each other's lives, and we talk all the time, and sometimes we'll get together as a group and do something outside of the game. Sometimes it may just be one or two of us, sometimes it may be the whole group. Um, but yeah, it has brought me so much joy and happiness to be with my weirdos. And I really want everybody that wants that experience to have it.
I love that. Holy moly. Like, just we just need to clip that and just put that on a loop for everybody to watch because it is so true. Like, um, I was on the outside of that. Christy had come to one of the one shots that I had ran pretty early on.
Mhm.
She too had anxiety about coming out to an event,
Sure.
which if you do, just message me. Love to I tell you all about it. But the events are a great place to meet people. And she came and I remember her asking like how to find. I was like, just message up there and see what happens. And all it takes sometimes is just putting yourself out there just a little bit. Just say, hey,
Mhm.
I'm looking for something. But sometimes, unfortunately, things don't come together unless there's somebody who really takes it and makes it into something.
Oh,
That's a
100%.
big challenge in the group. We have so many amazing people who are looking for groups. And after hearing what you just said, I bet you all of those people in the group are going, I want that, right? I want that.
Yeah.
And you can have it. It might take just a little bit more effort than just simply posting up that you're looking for a game. Go out there and
Yeah.
grab people, form them into a group. You've seen it happen time and time again. And I think if people
Yeah.
take just that little bit of extra effort, they can find their squad, their group, their, wonderful party of weirdos. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, instant friend group, right?
Yeah.
You're hanging
And
out.
doing the things scared will have the biggest payoff. Like I said, I it's only been, I think we started playing in September maybe, and I love these people like they were born into my family.
Yeah.
And I think everybody deserves to have that. And I know that, you may have to try out a few groups before you
Right.
find one that you really
100%.
click with, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like dating, you're looking for that. It's true, there may be some that work, there may be some that don't, but eventually you will find that match,
Right.
and the payoff will just be amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. That I mean, you put the effort into the group and I mean, you've been rewarded for it with this awesome group. So if there's a big takeaway from this, it's do as Sarah does, maybe if you're scared, just put yourself out there a little bit. If you're scared to get behind the screen, just jump back there. Just jump back there. If you need people to run a test game for, I'll do that for you. We'll do
I
that
will
for
too.
you.
I'll be happy
We
to.
would love to do that. Maybe that could be something that we do. I'll think about that a little bit more. But yeah, so just try to channel a little bit of Sarah. If anybody can give you courage, I think it's her. So awesome. Let's switch up gears just a little bit. I want to talk about a little
Okay.
bit like D&D games. Whenever
Mhm.
you run a game, you know, a lot of people really focus on story or character or combat. Where do you kind of fall on how you like to DM?
I really As a DM, I like a really good balance. There's nothing as exciting as really intense combat where your life is on the line and you may, drop down to just a couple of hit points, or maybe you go all the way down.
Yeah.
But there's also something really satisfying when you get into the role playing aspect and really just become your character.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's, if you're one of those players that does create a backstory for your DM to work with, that sudden recognition, and you look around the table and like, oh, they're talking about me. That's my character. And I love to give those feelings to everybody.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's a good way to do it. I a balanced approach is probably always going to be the best way to go because then you can hit each type of player.
Yeah.
There's some players even that they love combat, they hate role play or mystery or whatever. Then you have the exact opposite to be true. You have players that are like, all I want to do is role play. and
Right.
solve mysteries, or they like political intrigue or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
But having a good balance is so important. That's awesome. For you, you've run probably dozens, if not hundreds of NPCs at this point. Is there any NPC you've ever made that's just stuck with you? It's your all-time best.
I think one of my favorites was a she was just a tavern wench, and she really no bearing on the story or the plot line. But what made her so memorable was I had a young boy at my table. He was 11 at the time, and he was fairly severely autistic.
Yeah.
And when he first started playing, his dad was at the table too. He would never talk directly to me as the DM or any of the other players that were in his adventuring party. He would look at his dad and talk to him, and then have his dad say whatever he wanted to say. And the party ended up in a tavern, and they were taking a little bit of a short rest, and the tavern wench came up, and I described her as for anyone that remembers like the Dukes of Hazzard, she was pretty much Daisy Duke in a corset. And she had a pretty strong Southern accent, and she leans across the table and kind of touches his chin and says, "And what can I get for you, sugar?" And I almost fell out of my chair when that young man looked at me and said, "Ma'am, you are so beautiful. I would really like to have a beer, please." And then he started flirting with me,
Oh no.
and I almost fell out of my chair. It was the first time he had interacted as his character.
That's awesome.
And I've known this kid since he was born, and we've always had a pretty good relationship. So talking to me, to Sarah outside of the game was nothing. But when he made eye contact and talked to my character in character, my heart stopped. And I just looked at him with my mouth hanging open until somebody threw a piece of paper at me, and I jumped back into it and started going again. It was just phenomenal.
That is
So
so
she's
cool
probably my most memorable just because of that reaction that she was
because of
able
the
to elicit from
circumstance.
this young man.
Yeah. And, sometimes I think people, they get too lost in the weeds, like, oh, I really want to make this NPC memorable. I think people forget that the people who truly make an NPC memorable are the players and how they interact with them. You can make the most
Exactly.
interesting NPC in the world, but they could just not care at all. And they could move on. And
Yeah.
next thing I know, it's this hermit in the woods that has a bunch of pet squirrels and they want to adopt one of them, um, which
Yeah.
they always want to adopt them. But that's such a
Yes.
great story. And I actually had something similar happen in one of the learn to play sessions.
Mhm.
One of the This was for kids. So one of the learn to play sessions for kids, there was a young girl there and she was very similar. The mom came over and said, "Hey, she might not talk directly, but she'll tell me what she wants and speak out." And for the
Mhm.
first probably 10, 15 minutes, you know, didn't really get into it. But as the other kids at this table started to get into it, we really got into the adventure, right? You've
Mhm.
been in that learn to play adventure before, so
Yeah.
you know what it's about. We start getting in there and we get around where the bomb is, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't keep her from talking. You couldn't tell she had any social anxiety at all. If anything, she was like having full blown like arguments, like in character with the boys at the table who wanted to do XYZ with this bomb. She's like, "That's silly. Why would you ever do that? Wouldn't that just potentially blow up the bomb?" And I was sitting there, I was like, "That's a great point. That's a great
That's
point."
wonderful.
You would have had no idea if you came in halfway through that game that that girl had any social
Yeah.
anxiety at all. It's a great part about the game, that I think is underestimated is once you get caught up in the story
Mhm.
and you're in like a comfortable place to where everybody gets it, right? Everybody knows what's going on. All this
Yeah.
stuff just kind of gets left behind and you just get into it. Whenever I run a game, before I run it, like I'm sweaty and I'm nervous, but once I get into it, I just forget that I'm even Jason for sometimes a few hours, and I'm just
Yeah.
in it, you know? And
Yeah.
people be like, "Whoa, like you're so outgoing and you do all these things." I'm like, that's
No,
just
I'm not.
DM Jason. Because DM
Yeah.
Jason is fun and outgoing and all that stuff. Outside, Jason is a little less fun. Doesn't do as many weird voices. But okay, cool. So for you, NPC is great. Is there a favorite moment? That might even be your favorite moment that you've had playing the game. But is there a moment that sticks out to you as like, hey, this was the best time I've had playing D&D?
That's certainly one of my top moments. Um, Another one happened not too long ago as a player, and I play a barbarian called Mama Bulk, and she's the her backstory is that her sons went off to war. She hasn't heard from them in over a year, so she's out looking for any information on them. But
Fantastic
in
backstory.
yeah, in meeting with this adventuring party, she has become the group mom. She mothers everybody. Have you drank enough water today? You need to go to bed or you're going to be tired. All those phrases that, we've either heard from our own moms or seen them in TV characters, movie characters, whatever. And one of the other characters was orphaned and asks almost every NPC we come across, will you be my uncle? Will you be my dad? Will you be my cousin? Will you be my brother? So on and so forth. And Mama Bolt, it just broke her heart to hear this young girl say these things and not have that familial love. So I got with Clark, who's our DM for that campaign, and told him what my
Right.
plan was. I made a certificate of adoption, and in the game, I formally adopted this
Wow.
player. And she had no idea that it was coming. And just you could see
The
like the
shock.
look on her face. Yeah, just kind of
Yeah.
go from what did you just say to oh my gosh. It was a lot
That's
of fun.
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I've never even heard of something like that. That is so cool. But that's the beautiful thing about the game is there's not one way to play it. I mean, holy smokes. Who would have ever thought
Right.
that you could adopt a human playing this game?
Yeah,
You might have accidentally adopted that human forever. They might never
I
let
may
you
have.
know. Yeah, probably. Probably. I love
It's
that.
okay.
So, you know, this is something that's really personal, for me. Like, what has D&D kind of done for you outside of the game?
It sounds a little cheesy and trite, but I'm just happier. There's more joy in my life. Um, I I can while away hours making encounters and storylines for my players, or I like to just create characters for fun
Yeah.
and can do that for hours. And again, it goes back to a lot of it's the relationships that I've made. Um, Knowing that outside of my regular circle of friends, that I have this whole other group that gets me on a different level. It just it like I said, it just brings me such joy and happiness to have these people in my life, and they're all so different and wonderful in their own ways. But I'm just so blessed and so lucky to have found them.
Yeah. And, speaking to that a little bit, for all those people out there in the group or outside of the group that are, nervous about playing the game or joining a group or coming to any one of our events, you know, what would you tell them as encouragement to help get them to where you are? Because that's an amazing place to be.
It really is. I think the potential payoff there is worth forcing yourself to overcome that bit of anxiety. Like I said before, do it scared. It may be terrifying to walk into a group of people that you've never met before, you've had no interaction with, or maybe you've just, like yourself and I, they've just talked to us online and interacted through the group. I've watched you in several of these events, and you are always so warm and welcoming. And I strive to be like Jason and do the same thing. I don't want anyone to ever show up to one of our events and feel like they were ignored the whole time or weren't welcome.
Right.
Um, you're walking into a room full of people who share your weirdness, share your nerdiness, whatever adjective you want to use. And 9.5 times out of 10, they're going to welcome you with open arms. There's really nothing to be scared of. It's going to pay off for you.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, I really can't think of a better way to kind of wrap up our conversation than that because, at the end of the day, this is an amazing game. It's a great community and there's people like you who are in there. And all it just takes is just a little leap of faith just to get out there
Yes,
and come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. So,
definitely. It's so worth it. You're going to have more fun than you could possibly imagine.
right. Perfect. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and to talk to the group and the community. I hope everybody out there can take something from what Sarah has said and apply it to their life. And maybe just, if anything, just do it scared, right? That's what you
That's
said. Just
right.
do it scared.
Do it scared.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity, Jason. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at one of our events.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. We'll have more events to see some people soon, but everybody keep an eye out on the
Excellent.
events page for that. But thank you for watching. We will see you soon.